Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined by someone who I was actually informed is part of our family because it's a friend of my cousin Carole's good friend Tim, and we met him about 3 weeks ago now when we first got to Largo. Ron McCoy. Ron, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, you're welcome.
So Ron is 80 years young, and we hit it off right away when my wife and I met him. We went out for dinner, and he started, asking about us traveling full time in an RV. And Ron never actually sold all his stuff like we did, but he would take several months at a time and travel in different. I guess your vehicles changed throughout your traveling. So, what made you want to do it in the first place? What made you not want to be at the same place all the time?
Well, when I was in the military, I traveled across the states a couple of times, and I really enjoyed seeing new things. So that really got me in, and my wife was the same way. She enjoyed traveling, and a lot of our trips were fast, so we didn't stop and spend the time while we were still working, Right. And she says, we just got to stop in these places and spend a little time at each one of them, enjoy them. And her aunt and uncle and her mom had been going to Yuma, Arizona for a few years.
Okay.
And so we started going down there and stayed in the same RV park as they did for 8 or 9 years, I guess.
Okay.
But it's just, we always had campers. I've had over my lifetime, I think I figured out I've had 5 campers to go on trucks. I've had 5 fifth wheels, and I've had 5 motorhomes, and I've never had a tent trailer yet. But my dad, as he got older, he kept dropping down to smaller, and in these late 80s, he still was going camping, and it was a tent trailer. So.
Yeah. Wow.
It's sort of been in my family a long time and enjoying that.
Yeah, and you're actually in the process of remodeling or creating your own travel trailer.
Yeah, well, I have a motorhome on my property in Long Beach, Washington, but I got it set up more or less permanently, and I had a cover put on it, and I fenced it all in. I got a pretty neat setup there. And my wife and I had a 26-foot ultralight with 2 slides we bought, and we pulled it out here to Florida twice, but then we always had to find a place to park it because we bought a mobile home in a park, and my son lived in it full time, and my wife and I would do 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. But and then I bought a little small Winnebago Rialta. And that's neat to travel in, but it's too small for spending much time.
Right.
So, anyway, right now this cargo trailer, I brought a little Mini Cooper out to leave out here, because being 80, this is my last big drive out here. I drove out by myself in a week's time, and it was 3,900 miles. And sometimes my mind says that I'm younger than my body. I figured I'd have, and I didn't have a really problem, but I was beat when I got here, so no more driving this far. I'll be flying out here for now. But yes, I'm making a camp trailer out of it, so I get home, I'm going to sell that other trailer because I don't need anything that big.
Right.
And I got a bed that folds up, and it's got a sink, and I got a porta potty in there, and I got lights, and I got a little inverter, and I got 2 batteries with a solar panel so I can plug in electrical stuff to it if I'm not in an RV park to hook up to power. So yeah, it'll be pretty neat. I'm fixing it. It's a little rustic looking. It'll look like a covered wagon inside, I think, when I'm done. But
nice. So at 80, you're not going to take the 4,000-mile drive anymore.
No,
but you're definitely going to be traveling.
I still will do short trips. Just before I left home, I bought a 25-foot boat that I'm anxious to go home on. It's a very seaworthy rig, and I have property on Long Beach, Washington Peninsula, and good crabbing, a lot of good fishing, and you can go out and get bottom fish, you can go out and get halibut and tuna if you want to go out far enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and that's the place we're going to be coming to visit.
And
now?
yes, you're going to be coming there. I got an RV spot when I put it in, I had a little rental house, so the wife and I used for 2 years, and then we wasn't using it, was set, so I rented it.
Yeah.
And I had one gal that rented it for 18 years. She was 92 years old when I finally had to talk her into going into a nursing home.
Yeah. We're definitely looking forward to making that trip out.
Oh, you'll enjoy it. I have a little trail that my wife and I and the neighbor guy, when he was living there, we blazed through the brush. We had it on our easement. Had a 10-foot easement all the way to the beach.
Nice.
So we put that in. It's a nice little walk, and yeah, nice. Very enjoyable.
We're looking forward to that. So what was one of the things you enjoyed most about traveling?
I think mainly just seeing new places.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, they just go from point A to point B. They don't, my neighbors and friends say, Ron, why do you drive? Why don't you just fly? And I said, it's no fun flying.
Right.
You don't get to see nothing.
Yep.
And we traveled out here once with my wife's friend and her husband, and we took a month and a half coming out. Yeah. We stayed in Desert Hot Springs right out of Palm Springs for a month, South Padre Island in Texas for a week, and New Orleans, and our first trip we stopped at see Elvis's house there, and
yeah.
Went to Memphis, the Grand Ole Opry, and all the things my wife had a bucket list, and we tried excuse me.
No, and I understand that completely. That's one of the things why we're doing what we're doing. You talked about how you traveled in the military,
yeah.
And you were always on a schedule. With the organization that I was with, we traveled a lot, but
yeah.
we traveled with teams, so we were always on schedules.
Yeah.
So I never had the opportunity to really enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
And one of the things, when we first met, I told you that my mom had done this, and that was her whole philosophy is
yeah.
enjoy the journey. So for people out there listening, because so many people that we've talked to, they always say to us, "Oh, I would love to do that someday."
Yes, you
Some
don't
days
talk
today.
about it.
Yeah.
My wife and I had a thing that when we were working, whether we could afford it or not, we took a good summer vacation and we took a good winter vacation, even if we had to use our credit cards to do it.
Right.
Because we figured we both worked hard. I was self-employed for 11 years, so hey, I busted my hiney, keeping. I had 4 employees. It doesn't sound like much, but going out there and keeping that much work going and keeping yourself going. Plus, I had a 27-acre farm that I had in alfalfa, so I was taking care of that.
Right.
So the wife and I, when I retired a year before her, only because I had to go out on disability. My shoulder went out on me, and I had to have complete shoulder replacement. And they said if I continued to do my work, I'd lose my other shoulder, and then I'd really, so.
Right.
So I've been retired since I've been 20 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And my wife, she retired a year after me, and she just passed a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
From pancreatic cancer, but
yeah, and it's like I said, it's so important. I think as we've talked to people about it, and they say, "Oh, you're living our dream. We want to do this someday."
Yeah.
I tell them, I said, "Well, someday could be today." How important do you think it is for people to just not get caught up in that rut of what everybody thinks life should be?
I think that is so important, because I was one of them crazy devils that just work. Because I like nice things. And the only way, I used to tell my kids this, there's only one way you can get it, is work, unless you're going to be a crook,
right.
a thief, or,
right.
whatever. But I said, if you work hard, it pays off in the end.
Yeah.
And all my sons are hard workers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have my nephews send their kids over to me because they wanted them to learn good working habit. Well, my dad was that way,
Yeah.
and it went on to me, and I've tried to pass it on to my kids. And then going out and doing what the wife and I did was so important. I mean, we could have had one nice big fancy home and just lived in that and went out and mowed our yard 3 times a week and all this and done nothing, but that wasn't what we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we lived sort of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we had places to go, and our motorhome, when we left Arizona and got home, I took it down the beach. But then I also had a shop there that I made a room into, that I had a bathroom, shower, and sink, and a bed in there. So when we was up there, we had a place to stay for a few days, and then our motorhome was our beach home because our house was rented there.
Right.
But,
Right.
I wouldn't have lived it any other way.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
That's great. I know you're going to give us a list of places that we need to check out on our travels.
Yeah.
What are some of those places that really stick out in your mind, right now for my listeners to kind of make
Well,
notes of as
you
well?
know, like I mentioned to you in Oklahoma, that Blue Hole. I mean, it's worth the drive. It's such a beautiful. You can look down 30 feet in there, and divers come from all over the world to go down in there, and it goes back in. I don't know how far. It's like 80 or 90 foot deep. Then it goes back into caves and stuff in there. But just seeing it was just so pure. The water was blue, just gorgeous, and it was off. I think highway. You have to go 66, but well worth the drive.
Yeah.
And then Arizona, we went with our friends to the Cosner Caverns, and there's that pipe organ cactus state park or what. Definitely worth the drive off the highway to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we like desert hot springs there, but it's nice weather, but the wind blows.
Right.
Palm Springs, we went into town there, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Right.
But we went. They got a tram there that you're up there and you can see for miles and miles. Beautiful. That's worth a trip on if you go to that. But right after we left, and that's been a few years ago, they had a big storm, rainstorm, and it flooded out the road. So I'm sure by now they got it back on the going. But we just tried to find just highlights of places. Like I say, going downtown Memphis and seeing all the jazz places. We were eating up above on a 2-story deal and out in the open, and there was a couple sitting there. We started talking. This is something you find when you travel. There's people that are so friendly everywhere you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find jerks no matter where you go, but the majority of the people are good people.
Yeah.
More than happy to help you or tell you things, everywhere. It just don't make any difference. Even in other countries, you'll find that.
Yeah.
I always heard, people in New York was rude and this and that. My wife, when we went there, people all of them was friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's just, it's what you want to make out of it.
Right. That's for sure.
My wife and I were pretty laid back. We had some good friends that laid back, and we traveled with them, like in Costa Rica and different things. We've been there twice, and I love that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could live there if it wasn't for being away from family and
Right,
stuff. But
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't take the RV to Costa Rica.
No. But there's a lot of beautiful places, and a lot of people. We went with a group called the Vagabondos, and we signed up and we traveled down the Baja, Mexico, and that was a little different.
Yeah.
The Mexican people are wonderful people, but sometimes the federales and the way things is, and right now with all the drug stuff's going, I've gone down there for the last time.
Right.
And that's too bad because they depend on the tourism for surviving in some places,
Right.
And
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yep.
It's a shame. So, Any other things, any other tips you want to give to anybody that's listening out there? Anybody who's thinking of maybe, getting an RV and traveling a little bit?
Yeah, there you can get on your phone and look up different things, tips on RVs, ones to look out for. There's a deal in there that people will give you that little tips of fixing this or doing stuff on RVs, and I've only bought one new RV in my life. It's always been, our first motorhome was, I think, 4 or 5 years old, and this other one I have now down at the beach, it's 10 years old, but it's got tip out, and it's just fine for me down there.
Right.
The 26-foot ultralight we bought new, and once you drive them off the lot, you've lost.
Yeah.
So my advice is find one 2 or 3 years old, let somebody else take the beating on them. But some people want to start out with a brand new one, but the thing is, you find them 2 or 3 years old, all the bugs are out of them.
Right.
Somebody's already gone through all that and taken care of that.
Right.
So, yeah, I personally think that's the best way to go, because you can find RVs 2 years old that look like people's lived in them for 10 years, or you can find one 10 years old that looks like it's brand new. I mean, I've always said if you look at that and they take care of that, they usually will take care of the engine. And my father was a maintenance guy, and I've been the same way.
Right.
I've never been broke down along the road out of all my travels.
Wow.
I've never been broke down.
Good for you.
I just,
for sure.
I mean, there's part of it luck, but most of it's because I take care.
Right.
And I'm a believer in synthetic oil.
Mm-hmm.
Every rig, the first thing I've done is I've serviced it and put full synthetic. Engine, transmission, and most of your new rigs all have had it in the rear end for quite a while. But
yeah. So we're just about out of time, but like I said, there's always one last question that I like to ask everybody. The subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from a song where the opening lyrics are, when many little people in many little places do many little things, then the whole world changes. So what do you think one of the little things that you've done throughout your life to make the world a better place has been?
I think mainly just being kind, being honest. I don't know why I get so choked up over this, but there's a lot of wonderful people out there.
Yeah, there are.
Every race don't make a difference. There's good people and bad on both.
Absolutely.
Well, in every race there is.
Absolutely.
But majority of all the people are good people, willing to help you. I just feel being honest and respecting everybody in return it's paid off.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think that's a
good
way to go about
Other
life.
than a few times when I have my business, by being a really easygoing, nice guy, they sometimes took advantage of me.
And I know that feeling as well. But you know what? I've kind of come to the conclusion that that's on them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to be honest and be kind and do things the right way. And if that means that it opens me up to be taken advantage of at times, so be it. I'm not going to change the way.
My wife and I don't know how many times we've given money to people, and I got to where I won't give money, but I'll buy them food.
Right.
And we were crossing Arizona in the Indian reservation, and I seen a Kentucky Fried Chicken. We pulled in there, and there was 3 Indians leaning up against the building. I could tell they were drunk. Anyway, we went on and eat, and one of them came in and came up to my table, and he says, "Would you give me some money for food?" And I says, "Are you hungry?" And he says, "Yes." And I said, "I'll tell you what, I won't give you money, but I'll follow you up there and you can order anything you want." And there was an Indian gal standing beside me, and she said, "They're nothing but drunks." And I said, "Even drunks get hungry."
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ron, I thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Safe travels on the way back to Washington. I'm looking forward to seeing you this summer and spending some time.
Oh, you
on
enjoy
this
it.
beautiful property that you have
Hey,
out there.
I'm gonna get you on that boat, and you're gonna pull that tugger and them crab coming up there. It's automatic, runs off 12 boats, so all you gotta do is just
Guide it in.
When I got that, my buddy and I said, with this we can crab till we're 90. I lost him 4 years ago. I'm outliving all my friends. I remember my dad saying that.
Yeah.
He lived to be 97, so.
It's definitely in your blood, I guess.
Yeah, I
Longevity,
guess.
for sure. So, and thanks again for joining me. Look forward to hanging out with you in the summer. And
All right.
folks, for those out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at danclouser.com. Thanks again, Ron.
All right.